Welcome back. My name is Ron, and I'm here to talk to you about how to refinance your auto loan. This is a requested video by one of the subscribers, but many people will enjoy watching this and you can find some use out of it, especially if you clicked on it, so you're obviously interested in this topic. So, the first thing to know with refinancing a loan is what is, the process, what is the purpose of this in the first place. So many times we may say like, oh man, I need to refinance my loan, get a lower interest rate, maybe lower payments, and that's all great. But understand this, is that there is as much to do psychologically as there is financially. What I'm talking about is oftentimes many companies will advertise to you or make you, offer a service, whatever, and they make it sound like they're doing you a favor. This is not true. If they were just doing you favors, we wouldn't have credit scores, credit reports. This has nothing to do about having, giving them you a favor. What the banks and the finance companies are in it for is business. They're in for profit. So understand that right off. This is a business transaction. This is not someone doing you a favor. Don't let them, if they're trying to push this favor nonsense to you, that's your red flag right there. They're probably going to try and pull some shenanigans because they're trying to get you all, buttered up before they lay something on you that they know you're not going to like. So understand, first off, this is business. They want your interest payments. Your interest payments to them are profit, and that's what they're after. So when you're in the finance, process, the dealership sold you a vehicle and a bank stepped in and financed the vehicle. The dealership's out of the picture at this point. Now it's between you and whatever bank it was. It could be a local bank, say like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, just to name a few. Citigroup, Citibank is another one. Chase, J.P. Morgan Chase is huge. But it could be really anybody. Not every finance company is a bank. Some are just specifically in it for financing vehicles and houses. So anyone can actually finance a vehicle, a house, or any of these loans. They don't really care where the money comes from. They just care that you got the money. That's all they really care about. So, when between you and the finance company, the bank, I'll just keep calling it the bank from now on, just for simplicity's sake. So now you're talking to the bank, you're making your payments, you're paying down your principal. Now understand this. This is a little tricky because if you're not paying attention, because they don't disclose this, but if you got an eye for numbers, you can actually catch on to this, is that when you're paying down your principal, especially in the beginning time, if you look at those statements very carefully, you'll notice that only a little bit of the money you're paying on your payment is going to principal, and the principal is actually the amount you borrowed. The rest of that money is going to interest. Some time back, years ago, banks started front-loading the interest payments onto vehicles and houses. Pretty sneaky, huh? But they don't tell you about this. So, they front load their interest rate so that way very, very little of your amount of money is going to principal. It's mostly going to paying their interest because they want to get their interest off the table as soon as possible, because that way, remember, interest is their profit. So that way, when later on down the road, if something happens and you stop making payments, they already got their interest, and that principal amount, they have a few options when it comes to that. They can sue you, and they'll win too. You can bet on that. And, they'll sue you and garnish you. They'll take that and they'll sell it to another bank on principal, not interest. They front-loaded the interest. So why does this matter for refinancing? Well, it matters actually a great deal because a bunch of that money you put into it is actually going to to the interest payments, not really the principal. This is worse even in mortgages, far worse, but in auto loans it's still the same way. So when you want to go refinance, your principal really hasn't dropped all that much. So just understand that, and the next bank is probably going to do the same thing. They're going to front load the interest on you because it just makes good business sense for them. It's not for you. Remember, this is not to do you a favor. This is just for their business. This protects them better, and they realized this a long time ago, and they implemented it quietly, as they often do. So when you go to refinance, make sure that you're willing to accept the fact that the next place is going to front load the interest more than likely going to front load the interest just like the last place did. So this method actually makes refinancing more tricky. It may not be as useful to you because of the front loaded interest, especially if you're really early on, in your payments to them, because they want their interest first and they're actually making you front load it without your don't even know about this kind of tactic. That means your principal's not going to drop. So if you're only like maybe 6 months into the loan, a year into the loan, mostly they're collecting their interest. That loan drops very, very little in comparison to the interest they're collecting. So first off, how do you find one? If you've made the decision that you do want to do so, or at least explore the option of doing so, how do you find one? Well, first off, remember that any bank, anyone technically can refinance a vehicle. It's just about the money. It doesn't matter really like any type of like statutes and law. It's just the money. So if you roll down into, say, your local branch and ask them about refinancing, or you can just do it on your computer if you have one, or on your phone, or even in the library on one of their computers, or walk in and ask them about refinancing, they'll be like, okay, and they'll sit you down with some banker and they'll start going through the numbers and pull your credit report and all this stuff. This can be quite a process, and they'll start putting out some numbers, and you need to read these numbers very carefully to determine if this is a good option for you. I know most of the time what people are looking for in refinancing is a lower monthly payment, and if that's what you're after, hey, good for you. If you get it, you get it. That's great. If you're looking just to get it paid off faster, it may not make a lot more sense to refinance, but checking your options doesn't cost you anything. So go into your local branch, check with them, start punching in companies online, branches all over the place, branches about. Neighborhood banks tend to be more reasonable than like mass international organizations, because they're actually looking more, they don't have the huge margins, say, that JP Morgan Chase does. So they're more willing to take, a long-term risk with like something local and offer you better terms, because they can't match the borrowing power of like, say, Chase. So they're going to be a little bit more reasonable on average. And also you can look at financing companies. You just Google search, I want to refinance my vehicle. You're going to see a slew of different places that are saying they're going to loan you money if you're approved, right? You got to provide them with numbers and all this stuff. And so it's really a trial and error process, really. So when I refinanced a vehicle not too long ago, circumstances, I put a bunch of money into the vehicle. I nearly paid the thing off, instantly, but circumstances compelled me to refinance the vehicle. And it wasn't even like my idea. It was like I went in there for a different reason. I went in there for like a personal loan, which I did get, but they also offered me like to refinance the vehicle. Wow, they must be doing me a favor, right? No. What they're doing is locking me into a more long-term interest payments. Yeah, they refinanced the vehicle, even like gave me my entire down payment back. What nice people, huh? Yeah, right. And then they extended the term of the contract out significantly. So in the short term, yeah, my payments dropped like crazy. They even gave me thousands of dollars back. And, it looked all good, right? Well, in the short term, if that's what you're interested in, the short term, then yes, that particular set of circumstances compelled me to say yes to this stuff. Now, in the long term, it was definitely not in my best interest, because extending a contract out means that they're going to get more interest payments over a longer term. And also giving me the money back means that they're going to be able to charge me interest on that money that they just gave me. So in the long term, no, it was not in my best interest, but in the short term, yes, it was. So when you're going about doing this, balance out what you're in it for. Are you in it for the short term or the long term? If you're in it for the short term, you go into a place, refinance, and check that the interest itself is really low. Remember the truth in lending statement. They have to disclose this to you. And if you're not sure what that is, check out my other video on a friend in the lending business. So check Google for finance companies, check your local banks, check all your options before you sign on the dotted line. And remember, read those contracts very carefully so you understand that you're making the right decision for you.